Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, June 14th. Ian Cameron on the eve of the Stanley Cup Final. Game 1 will start tomorrow. And a reminder, we have a loaded Wednesday up for this show. We've got our daily live show at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We'll have Ian Miller joining us as a special guest for that. And, of course, our live betcast tomorrow night for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final on Wednesday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be members of the Ice Guys crew, special guests, viewers, listeners of the show, anyone that wants to join us on the betcast. Just send me a DM on Twitter at Bobano or email bobano350@gmail.com, and I'll make sure I send you a link so you can join us for the betcast tomorrow night for Game 1. Definitely looking forward to that, and looking forward to our guest today as well on this special pre-recorded edition of the Ice Guys here on this Tuesday. We welcome in someone that has played hockey in the past, at the junior level specifically, and has some interest in betting these days, as well as working a little bit on the side for Doc Sports, doing some sports betting articles and content for them. Pleased to be joined today on the show by Devin Reimarchuk. How are you, Devin?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Ian.
Absolutely. Great to have you, Devin. And just talk about your hockey background first, and then get a little bit into what you're doing right now from a sports betting standpoint.
Yeah, so played hockey my whole life. Grew up in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Went through kind of the ropes, played minor hockey, played junior, played some hockey in the OHL, local junior B hockey. Met a lot of guys along the way, and I was always kind of obsessed with stats, knowing guys. I'd memorize guys' height and weight, the way they shoot, all that sort of thing. So I always had an interest in kind of like the fine detail of hockey and sport. And I didn't play a lot, but I was always reading the game sheets, reading, how guys are doing, what guys are, more likely to fight, what guys are on the power play, all those sorts of trends. So it was kind of an easy transition to get into a little bit of sports gambling, and kind of use all that knowledge that I accumulated over all those years to something useful, right? I was always in school. I knew all the guys playing in the NHL, but sometimes I would be like, oh, I'm not studying for my exams. I'm not, being productive with my work. So it kind of feels like a cool way of being productive in an industry that really suits something I'm super passionate about.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like me 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Seriously. When I just started, I know sports. I love sports. It's a way to try to, profit from your knowledge and your acumen in various sports. And as a result, that's how I got into the bit. And it also helped that I had someone that opened a door for me, and specifically Ted Savransky, who's a very well-known, obviously, sports bettor and handicapper. He's been at it for over 20 years now. And he's a person that opened some doors for me to get into the business and into the industry. So we are eternally grateful, obviously, to him. And there's no doubt 10 years later, here I am still involved, and now with legalization. And you can speak to this too, Devin, with the legalization happening in the United States. Ontario now has opened the doors, obviously, to all the different sports book operators. Now with single game betting legal in Canada now, and Ontario now has opened the doors to DraftKings and FanDuel. You've been probably hit upside the head with all the commercials on television the last few months for Bet3, whether it's Aaron Paul for Bet365, or whether it's Wayne Gretzky for BetMGM, or Dan O'Toole for Bet Rivers. I mean, we've been seeing the ads on and on and on here in Ontario the last 3 months. And I think at some point the other provinces will follow suit, and you'll see more operators go there. But this is a great time to be involved in sports betting business in some form, because people are into it. The popularity and the interest level in sports wagering has never been higher because of the legalization process on both sides of the border, and it opens up new opportunities for everybody.
Yeah, totally. I know it's pretty cool. Even like the score bet, you got Biz, Whitney, Merles putting all their kind of predictions on there. It's super fun and interactive, right? So if you get those celebrities getting engaged in sports betting, Wayne
Trailer
Gretzky,
Park Boys with PointsBet. There's another one.
Yeah, exactly. You got, I think, who's Sean Avery with I forget the one, not Bet Rivers, the other one. But it's cool when those celebrities start talking about it. They put up their parlays for the night. They give their logic to why they're choosing that. It kind of gives you a different perspective of sports betting, and I think it gets more fan engagement too. I know when I'm watching a game, I'm way more interested. If I'm, betting on a few games, I'm way more engaged. Every Sunday of the NFL season, you can't wait for it, right? Because you got picks on every game, you got parlays, you got prop bets. So I think it's great, and I think it's good that Ontario is profiting off it because people were doing it regardless with offshore accounts. So it just makes it way better for everyone.
Don't I know it?
Yeah.
Don't I know it all these years? Going to the offshore, going into my little rafting world, as my good friend Cam Stewart would say, with the offshore sports betting. No doubt about that. All the different books that were there, no question. So great stuff. Let's get into some hockey. Let's get into some NHL. Stanley Cup final. So I really gave my in-depth series thoughts yesterday on the show. We had Brian Lee, longtime NHL defenseman, with us on the show yesterday. We talked a lot about the series, and I gave my thoughts on the series. And usually I give my thoughts first before anybody, my fellow crew members, and before the guest. We're going to let the guest speak first on this series because I said what I said yesterday about I'll reiterate what I said yesterday at the end, but we'll let Devin go first. Devin, this is obviously a Stanley Cup final, chock full of intrigue, hype, storylines. It's the two-time defending champs. It's the kings of the throne, trying to be dethroned by a team that's got the potential, quite honestly, to win multiple Stanley Cups themselves over the next 5 to 10 years, the Colorado Avalanche. It's basically the old guard versus potentially the new breed, going head to head here. And it's, you talk about all the great players, both teams loaded with tremendous talent, both sides of the puck, with both squads. Up front, both teams are loaded. Blue line, both teams are loaded. Yeah, you got to give Vasilevsky probably an edge in net, but this is a series that should be hopefully one that is worthy of the billing that it's being that it's receiving so far going into it. And you just hope the level of play on the ice and the excitement level of these games matches the interest, the excitement, and the hype going into it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you're looking at the series, kind of the roads of how each team got here, totally different. I think Tampa has gone through a couple tougher series than Colorado on the way to the Cup, and they're definitely a lot more battle tested, right? I think the Leafs, if they weren't matched up with Tampa, that could have been a conference final right there. And New York was pretty strong. Florida had a tremendous season, and they just wiped the floor on them. So I think as far as battle tested, you got to give the edge to Tampa, even with their previous Cup runs too, right? So they definitely know how to win. They played against every style of team. They played good goalies, bad goalies, high octane offenses, strong defensive teams. So it's hard not to lean towards Vasilevsky, the experience, hopefully Braden Point's back, all those factors. And then on the other side, Colorado, I mean, they played a backup goalie in round one. St. Louis had that goalie kind of uncertainty. Binnington was playing really good. The other guy came in, sorry, drawing a blank right now. And then in the Edmonton series, it was
Francouz, Pavel Francouz.
Francouz. And then in that series, it was a 4-0 series. But I think Edmonton, 2 or 3 of those games could have gone either way, right? So I don't think it really represented a 4-0 win. And I don't know. I think Francouz played better than Kemper did in those games he came in. So I actually got the cool chance to meet Grant Fuhr last week, and he really liked Francouz's game. So he said he's kind of athletic, old school, really challenges the puck, looks athletic when he plays, where Kemper's more in his crease, more of a puck blocker, kind of different
technical
styles. But
technical.
Technical. Yeah. So, it's the storylines are endless in this series, but naturally I'm leaning towards Tampa Bay just because of Vasilevsky, their experience. And I think they just know how to win tight hockey games, big games. And that's where I'm leaning towards.
All right, like in Tampa Bay. See, all right. So I made the case for Colorado. I got to admit, I don't love the price because, as you see on the screen right now, the series price is -180 for Colorado. That's pretty high. And I do like Tampa in game one specifically. And the reason for that, as I laid out yesterday on the show, 9 days off for Colorado. It's the exact same thing that Tampa Bay had to deal with prior to game one of the Eastern Conference final against the New York Rangers. And I don't think it's a coincidence, Devin. That was their worst game of the series, and it wasn't even close. that was the worst game they played in that series was game one off a 9-day layoff. And we've been able to talk endlessly to, the Brian Lees of the world, Bobby Ryans of the world, Derek Roys of the world, Carl Alsners of the world. Cy Nutkovich was a great guest. He went into this a little bit last week. All these guys that have played pro hockey, and they all said the same thing about the layoff of a week or more. It's tough. It's too much time off. It creates rust. It creates, you're out of sync. You're out of sorts. You've suddenly, after being idle for more than 7 days, 9 days like it was for Tampa in game one against New York, and like it will be for Colorado here on Wednesday night, you've got to ramp up all of a sudden after sitting around for 9 days to playoff type of hockey. That's not easy to get up to game speed quickly. I mean, you saw it right away from game one of the East Final. Tampa off the layoff. The first minute or so of the game, there's Chris Kreider all alone in front of the net. Chris Kreider. It wasn't a fourth liner. That wasn't Ryan Reeves all alone in front of the net. That was Chris fucking Kreider. It was a top line player. And he's all alone in front of the net. A massive gaffe and blunder defensively from a team you never see that shit from, Tampa Bay. And right away in that game one, Devin, I'm like, holy shit, this team is not ready. They look totally out of sync right from the get-go, and it never got better. It never improved. They ended up losing that game 6-2 to the New York Rangers in game one. So I'm worried about Colorado being in that same situation here Wednesday night. So I do like Tampa Bay in game one, and I've already mentioned I'll be looking at a first period full game money line split for the Lightning in game one. But I think as this series goes on, there's going to be things that are really going to be problematic for Tampa. This 1-6 on the blue line, Devin, I've never seen anything like it. The speed that they all can skate at 1-6, the fact that they can all join the rush and on every shift they do this. When I started watching hockey, I'm just a wee little one, 5-6 years old in the early 90s. When you activated your defenseman? Do you know when you pinched your defenseman in a game? You only did it when you were trailing in the third period. That's it. It's the only time you would ever see it. Colorado does this every shift, and it doesn't matter whether it's they're up in the game, they're leading, they're tied, or they're trailing. They'll do it because they've got that much confidence in their blue line in terms of their mobility, their skating stride, how fast they skate, which allows them to get back into proper defensive position and posture. A lot of times when there is a turnover and the team does go the other way in a transition or rush opportunity, Colorado is so adept at getting back and still nullifying that because all of these defensemen, Cale Makar and Devon Taves, Bowen Byram, even Josh Manson's an above-average skater. The two Johnsons are no slouches, Eric and Jack Johnson. They all can skate and get back into position and negate a rush chance even if they do turn it over. That's what allows them to take the chances they do. And they attack as a five-man unit on every shift. And I think it's something that Tampa Bay maybe didn't see as much of in their first three opponents, especially New York. New York definitely plays completely opposite, to be quite honest with you. Chip and chase, forecheck hockey. They don't do a lot of the stuff Colorado does. And to me, with Colorado, too, if you're going to break down Vasilevsky and you're going to break down this great defense with this experienced blue line of Hedman, McDonough, Chernak, Sergachev, and company for Tampa Bay, you've got to get them moving laterally. You got to have quick puck movement. You got to have high IQ guys that can think the game at a high, fast rate of speed. Colorado can do that. Cale Makar, in particular, can do that. His ability to think the game as fast as he can skate is, to me, a marvel in my eyes. I mean, it's just terrific to see that. And this is going to be something that's going to challenge Tampa. I think Colorado can position themselves, Devin, for better offensive success than New York or any other opponent that Tampa's played in these playoffs because of their ability to not only skate like the wind, but think the game at a very, very fast level as well, where you can make these plays with the puck. Open up seams. You have to be able to do that against Tampa Bay. The goalie's too good. The shot blocking is outstanding. How many times do you see Tampa Bay just blocking a shit ton of shots, making it difficult to get pucks to the net? Colorado can nullify that, though, in my opinion, a little bit because they move quickly. The players are never stationary. And I find they are able to be one step ahead with the puck movement and the decision-making of when and where to move the puck. Maybe ahead of Tampa Bay defensively. That's what it's going to take. Just being, trying to, just pass here and there and just try to, do things in a slow rate of speed is not going to work against Tampa Bay's defense. But Colorado's got that elite level, efficient offense and that ability to think the game fast as they move to, I think, be able to poke some holes in Tampa's defense a little bit. They're going to be the team that's going to threaten this Tampa defense and this brick wall that is Vasilevsky and net, I think, way more than other teams. So my approach is Tampa in game one, Colorado in the series. And you can actually bet a game one series combo, which is Tampa game one, Colorado to win the series at plus 400. I think it's a great price. I think Colorado gets better, stronger as the series goes on. I think maybe the Stanley Cup final lights are a bit bright for them in game one as well, not to mention just the layoff being a negative. And then as the series goes on, they get their feet under them and they become stronger and better. And I think Tampa, you could finally see them, Devin, start to gas out a little bit late in this series. They played a shit ton of hockey the last 2 years. This year, they've played a lot of games. And that rest, I think, it could lead to bad things for Colorado in game one, the 9-day layoff. But I think it could lead to good things and maybe a fresher team deeper into this series. So I like Colorado in the series. I do.
Who are you starting game one, Colorado?
I'm hearing Kemper. Well, Kemper's going to be the guy, if he's ready to go. There's no question about it. And look, he's had a great regular season, but there's no way around it. He is the second best goalie in this series until proven otherwise. I mean, you have to go into this series giving Vasilevsky the edge. There's no question about that. He's won big games, big game goalie, one after another. 2 Stanley Cups. Darcy Kemper, this is his first time in a Stanley Cup final. So you have to give Vasilevsky the edge. And this is no slight to Kemper. Kemper had a great regular season. He played great for Colorado. I will say the last couple goals he gave up against St. Louis in that second round before he got injured kind of bothered me. There was a couple there that were like, I'd like to see my goalie make that save personally. But no, he's still a very good goalie. It's going to be a question of, can he just jump in, start of a Stanley Cup final and be sharp? Guy that's been off for 2 weeks. That could be another concern for Colorado in game one. But while I think the goalie edge is clearly Tampa, I think the blue line, I'd even give a slight edge to Colorado with the blue line, just because of that 1 through 6 is just so dynamic with their skating. The Tampa's close.
He's just like on another level. Like he makes Victor Hedman looks like a class lower than him, right? He's so fast, so dynamic. It's like you have Connor McDavid that plays defenseman basically, right? So I liked your point too with as far as a defensive team as a whole. Colorado, you saw it last series. In the defensive zone, they clog every lane. Like Edmonton couldn't get shots through. There's no seam passes. I was super impressed with Nichushkin and Landeskog, just how heavy they were. The
Big Val,
they're so big. They're so heavy on the puck. They really can slow teams up. So I can't disagree with you. Their team defense as a whole, they have a system there where it's just so much time and space is taken away. They're on you so quickly because they're good skating. And just their amount of block shots last series. I don't know if there's a stat on that, but I think the one game they had almost 30 block shots in a game. And then Tampa's no slouch either. You see Stamkos going down blocking shots. You see him fighting. You see all their, Braden Point, Cirelli, those guys are just heart and soul guys that can play two-way hockey. So the buy-in from Tampa is there. Colorado kind of looks like the team of destiny right now. You're right. They're just steamrolling. McKinnon looks like he's on a mission. Their whole team just looks hyper-focused. They want to win. They want to win right now. So it's hard to disagree with many of your points right there. I think the Kadri factor is going to be a way bigger impact to this series than it did last series. I don't know if Comfer is going to be able to carry that second line.
Kadri's going to be back at some point, it sounds like, in this series, which I was stunned by. Because the initial diagnosis after the hit he took from Evander Kane in the Edmonton series was his season was done. We weren't going to see him again this year.
Kind of
now all of a sudden,
even if he comes back, how's he going to play, right?
Yeah, that's true. Jared Bednar, though, saying the door's open for him to return, and he could even be in game one, or at least at some point in this series, which would change things completely, just because of how great, and you can see, and this as well, seeing Kadri in the playoffs, how great Kadri was playing before he got hurt.
Perfect playoff player, like the perfect guy, right? So, it's that will be an extra element that I think they're going to need to win the cup this year. And you're saying all this too. They don't even have Sam Girard back there, which is absolutely crazy. He's one of the best puck moving D in the league. So they're loaded for sure. And I would think Point's going to be back too early in the series as well. It looks like he's been skating and ready to go too. So hopefully that will kind of counteract the Kadri effect when he comes back. But yeah, I just love I love Tampa's makeup, their habits. You got everyone bought in. They all know how to win. Like even you look at guys like Killorn and Sorelli, and just the 200-foot game they play.
Yep.
They're always coming below pucks. They're always coming with speed. They're bought in. Cooper's got them. They want to win, right? So I don't think it's a matter of, oh, we've already won 2 cups. I really think they want to be known as
Oh,
this
they do.
dynasty legacy team. And yeah, I just think with their experience and their leadership there, and just all those key parts they have, it's going to be a super, super tough task for Colorado to take down the defending champs.
Yeah, it's going to be it's it's just a wonderful series to just debate, dissect, and analyze before it even begins. It's going to be absolutely fun to watch. I think it's going to be a close, long series. I know there are people that think I've seen even opinions not only split Colorado, Tampa, but I've actually seen Colorado in 5. I've seen Tampa Bay in 5. I think there's definitely good cases to make for both teams to win the Stanley Cup final. I don't know if there's a good case to make that either one's going to win it in 5 games, though. I think it's going to be a pretty competitive, tight, close series, a longer one, thinking more along the lines of a 6 or 7 gamer. And I like Colorado to pull it out in 6 or 7, but I do like Tampa in game 1. I'm going to be on them in the first period and in the full game in game 1, because I do think Colorado is going to get hurt by that 9-day layoff. And the first period in particular is the first 20 minutes. You could really see it impact them.
Yeah, it's almost like Tampa took a little bit of time to heat up, and I know the Florida series was 4-0, but that game 1 was kind of going either way. In game 1 against the Leafs, they kind of came out flat there too, so it almost takes them a little bit to get going in series. But I don't disagree with you. That layoff is huge. 9 days is massive. You have to almost go through a little bit of conditioning. You got to get all the guys up to game speed for those 9 days. Like that's a big factor. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's going to be, I also think, when you look at it, it really, Stamkos, Kucherov, and Palat, they had their fingerprints all over that New York Rangers series win. And now if they get Braden Point back, there's another person you got to deal with if you're Colorado. That trio/quartet, if you will, against Rantanen, Landeskog, McKinnon, throw Kadri in there if he plays, that's going to be, I think, the better quartet, the better trio is going to have a big say in winning this series for their respective teams. But I also think there's going to need to be impacts made from your Perry, Nick Paul, Ross Colton type players for Tampa Bay. We know these guys have been capable. I know because I've bet player props all season long in the NHL. And how many times have I snagged a Nick Paul plus 400 goal scorer prop? Or a Ross Colton plus 400 goal scorer prop. People totally fast asleep at how well those two guys in particular played for the Tampa Bay Lightning this year. And Corey Perry, Mr. Playoffs, who had really was shitty puck luck why he didn't score against the Rangers, because he had a bunch of chances.
And I had him to have the most goals in the Panthers series. And I think I got him at plus 650 or 700 for most goals.
Yeah,
and I got that bet, so I was pretty fired up about that.
It's a great call, Devin. Awesome stuff. Holy shit, plus 650. Great price too. Wow, for Perry in the Florida series, and that's another thing you can bet now, and with so many books, is the top goal scorer for the series, either team, and you could really try to get creative with that. No question. That was a great call. But Perry's a threat, and I think for Colorado, if you're looking down the board a little bit beyond the big four. Arturi Lehkonen just finds a way to elevate at playoff time. And he scores, of course, the overtime winner to finish the sweep against Edmonton in the Western Conference Final. Burakovsky streaky. If you could see him score a goal, he could score a bunch in that series. So watch out for him. Comfort goes without saying. He's found some offense here in the playoffs. Even if he has to slide back down to the third-line center spot with Kadri returning, we've seen him be able to chip in goals and offense from that spot. So, don't lose sight of him as well down the lineup. So those are a couple that I'd look at for Colorado. You can never go wrong with Devon Taves to get a point. That is a prop that I've gone back to the well with a bunch of times for Colorado in these playoffs. And for Tampa Bay, Andre Palat, for some reason, he had scored a a point in every home playoff game, Devin, and yet was only minus 130 to get a point in Game 6 in the clincher against the Rangers. And, of course, he had 2 assists in that game for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, he has just been undervalued. That when you have scored a point in every home playoff game, which was like, 8 or 9 games in a row, and you're only minus 130. That means the odds makers aren't doing a good enough job. There's no way that price should have been minus 130. But I took advantage of it. I'm happy when they make mistakes like that. Odds maker errors are good news for this guy. I'll say that right now. No question about that. So I was happy to see that. And I'm going to stick by Mr. Palat here in this series because I think, he has really started to get it rolling for the Lightning. He seems to have a hand in a lot of what they do offensively. So, yeah, Andre Palat goes without saying. The point props for him, we're going to be going back to that I'm sure, throughout the Stanley Cup final.
For Vezina props, is Vasilevsky at plus 400 right now?
Let me just double check because I haven't seen them up to date the last few. Actually, I haven't looked at them really since the Stanley Cup final was confirmed to be Tampa, Colorado. Yeah, here we go. We're looking at Cale Makar, the favorite, plus 185.
Plus 180, yeah, 85.
I honestly think that Cale Makar might win it if Colorado wins the series. Yeah, even ahead of McKinnon, just because. And if he has another massive Stanley Cup final, Cale Makar, he probably will win it if Colorado is the champs.
No, you're right,
I think if you like Tampa Bay, you know what I would consider doing is even more than the plus 155 for Tampa Bay. Just take Vasilevsky.
That's what I was going to say, because he's going to win it if they win. So if you like Tampa, get them at plus 400, right?
Doesn't that make sense? I know Kucherov's right behind him at plus 450, but I can't see it.
I think Stammer's got good value too, though. What's he plus
11 to 1, plus 1100. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty good value too. I mean, if he has a big series, he scores 4 or 5 goals, he could be the guy too, right?
Yeah. Now remember, this is different from the NBA. The NBA has the NBA Finals MVP.
Yeah.
And everything taken into account is the performance of each player in that individual series in the finals. The Conn Smythe Trophy is different. It's for the entire playoffs. That's what they evaluate, in terms of who gets it. But at the same time, your Stanley Cup final performance does impact that significantly.
For sure.
So, yeah, to me, yes, I think if you like Tampa in the series, you really should put something down, on Andre Vasilevsky plus 430 to win the Conn Smythe Trophy, because I would say there's a hell of a good chance that if Tampa's winning the Stanley Cup, Vasilevsky's going to be your Conn Smythe winner. And again, you can bet that at plus 430 instead of Tampa Bay, as you see on the screen, plus 155 to win the series.
Yeah. Do you see it being a high goal scoring series, or?
I do in Game 1. Because we saw that with obviously, because I think the layoff for Colorado, that leads to sloppiness. Mm-hmm. And usually when you're out of sync and you're just out of sorts, it really shows up defensively, like with breakdowns, communication issues, turnovers with the puck, and those result usually of going in the back of your net. So I think Game 1 will be an over, and game to game we'll see after that, because I think there's going to be a series with a little bit of both, kind of like Colorado-Edmonton. It started off with that crazy high-scoring game. I think we might see something pretty similar, not similar like 8-6 similar, but I think we'll see goals in Game 1. But it wouldn't surprise me then if things tighten up again in Game 2 and we get a lower-scoring game. And I think we'll go back and forth. There'll be a couple high-scoring games. There'll be a couple low-scoring games in this series. But in Game 1 in particular, I think it's just set up well to be a little bit sloppy, a little bit higher scoring.
Yeah, totally. Coaches kind of adapt to systems, styles, players kind of get a feel of how this guy plays, what his tendencies are. So, yeah, that's it. I like that call, too, going over in Game 1. It at 5.5 or 6?
6 is the total for Game 1, which is actually sometimes with Colorado, you expect 6.5 with their totals. So, but Tampa Bay has been a team that's comfortable in low-scoring games. So I think 6 is the right number. But at 6, I still like it to go over the total for Game 1. And we'll get into more Game 1 breakdowns, obviously, tomorrow on the show. But before we wrap up with Devin, just prop-wise, players that you're going to be looking to maybe back from a prop standpoint, the ones that are going to have maybe the biggest impact, what would you be interested in?
Yeah, I mean, I always love Perry because they put him in a lot of crucial situations. He gets a lot of power play time. He's always on the ice, last minute to play when they're coming from behind. So I love him as far as value because he doesn't get a lot of praise for, he's playing 10, 12, 14 minutes a night, but a lot of crucial minutes. I love that. I think Ross Colton, he's been pretty clutch. He didn't have a great series against the Rangers, but I could see that third line getting going there, or third, second line, wherever he's slotted. I like Ross Colton. And then on the other side, like you said, Burakovsky, he can score. I played against him a lot in junior, and he has just nasty. Sorry, I keep getting calls. But super high end skill where if he gets going, kind of one
He'll
of those
get back
guys
to work in a couple minutes.
yeah, kind of one of those guys that can catch a groove, right? So kind of like your sixth man off the bench in the NBA, where he can take over a game like Andre Iguodala did it for Golden State when they went on that run, 4 or 5 years ago, right? So
Yep.
I do like Burakovsky. I don't have all the props in front of me as far as points, goals scored, assist, all that sort of thing. But just as far as guys I like in the series, also I love Nichushkin. I think he's just a force. He's hard to handle. He's so heavy on the puck. Sometimes they put him with McKinnon too. And when you're playing with McKinnon, points just come to you, right? So if he goes to the right spots, McKinnon draws all that attention. Easy for Nichushkin to get points there. And he's super skilled for his size as well. So love that. Kucherov, he's probably a cool prop bet if they have it. If he's going to get 30 points again, I think he will. I think he might be the first guy to ever get that in 3 consecutive playoff runs too, if I'm not mistaken. I may have heard that stat. But that could be a cool prop bet if that's available. Then you also got to believe Stammer's he's gonna come up clutch too in the series as well. So those are some of the guys I like. Be interested to see where they have Cale Makar for over under for points in the series. He's just been an absolute animal. So yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but you got to believe the big guys are going to show up, and then a few of the role guys are going to have some big games in there too.
Yeah, there's no question. It's got the potential again to be just an absolutely outstanding series. We just hope it lives up, because everybody's anticipating it. Everyone's excited about it. And you just hope that it's going to deliver when it's all said and done, no question. But yeah, series leading goal scorer. I see that right now. McKinnon plus 450. Mikko Rantanen plus 500. Stamkos plus 600. Kucherov plus 600. Braden Point, a returning Braden Point, plus 900. Landeskog.
Pick, eh?
That's if he is ready to rock, and he is 100%, and Braden Point of old, that's a value right there, plus 900.
Yeah, that's big value.
That is, and that's definitely something I would consider. Certainly from the Tampa Bay side of things, in terms of that. So you look at it, goals in the series. Oh, here we go, goals in the series. Makar's got goal. Oh, this is goals in the series, 1.5. Here's points, 5.5 minus 150 points in the series
that all
for
day.
Cale Makar. I think that's cheap too. Now, look, I get it. It's Tampa. It's Vasilevsky, very good defensive team. That still looks cheap to me.
Yeah,
it really does. Still, 6 points. He can't get 6 points in a
he can get that in 2 games.
Go, at least 6 or 7 games, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, what do you have? 4 points in that 5 points in that final game?
Yeah.
That's great value.
Now, again, we can't compare Edmonton to Tampa. It's completely different. But no, I respect that. I get that. But still, that looks low. That looks low to me as well. Over 5. Now it's minus 150. You got to leave some juice, but I think
what do they have for some of the role guys there, like second, third liners for Tampa, Colorado?
Well, they mostly see even Taves 3.5 minus 180. That's not bad either. That's a lot of juice, though. That's the only problem. But I think he gets to 4 points. They got Cirelli at 2.5 points. Mm-hmm. Landeskog 5.5. Rantanen 5.5. McKinnon 6.5. Kucherov 6.5. Palat 3.5 is insane.
Oh, that's great value. Right
minus
there.
180. You got to lay a price, but that's insane. 3.5. Palat. Do they know what this guy's been doing? Like, especially at home. Now on the road, early in the playoffs, he wasn't producing a lot of points on the road, but the Rangers series, he got it going in New York with the points, and certainly at home, he's been an automatic to get 1 or 2 points in every home playoff game for the
You even
Lightning.
get a little parlay there with Makar and Palat and
Yep.
a couple other guys that you like. That could be some pretty good return of dollar.
Yeah, I agree. Palat over 3. That's great. That's sometimes you look at it and you say, minus 180. I don't want to lay. I actually think it could be a higher price than that. I think it could be minus 250 on that 3.5, minus 275. The fact actually it's minus 180 might actually be value with Palat over 3.5 points. Stamkos is at 5.5, minus 120 to the over, and Victor Hedman 4.5 points shaded to the over, minus 120. Those are the ones that are listed, by the way, at DraftKings Sportsbook, which is a great segue before we wrap up the show. DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NHL, great partners with the Ice Guys and the Hockey Podcast Network. New customers bet just $1 on any NHL team, get $150 in free bets if they win. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state or province, you can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy hockey contests. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN, bet just $1 on any NHL team, get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older, must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state or province. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN. All right, best bets to wrap it up. Best bet, pre-series bet. Devin, is there anything you want to give out and recommend as a best bet?
I mean, how do you not take Palat there?
You're reading my mind. That's what I'm. All right, we got a dual best bet because that's exactly what I was going to go with here.
And I also thanks for the promo code. I've been using my promo codes in all the apps. I haven't used the DraftKings one yet, so I'm going to have to do that Wednesday night.
There you go, THPN. There you go for DraftKings Sportsbook, which
it.
of course just started in Ontario 3-4 weeks ago. It arrived after, the initial wave was FanDuel, MGM, all those came on board initially, but DraftKings was a little late to the party. But it's there now in Ontario. So definitely you can get on board with DraftKings with that promo code there. So Andre Palat over 3.5 points, minus 180. That's mine too. Over 3.5, minus 180. Let's give you a little series points prop. Andre Palat to go over 3.5, minus 180. Honorable mention to Cale Makar, over 5.5 series points at minus 150. I think that's worth a look as well in this series. So there we go. We both endorse those, Makar and Point, but I'll use Point as well. Or not Point, Makar and Palat, I should say. And we'll go with Andre Palat for over 3.5 points for best bet for the series right here on this Tuesday edition of the Ice Guys. Devin, great job. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'd also take Vasilevsky if they have an over-under for shutouts. I'd give him one shutout this series. He's good for one a series.
Yeah, shutting out this particular team is going to be one hell of an accomplishment. But if anyone's going to do it, you're right, it's going to be Andre Vasilevsky. Great stuff with our special guest. A reminder, by the way, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. A reminder, we've got 2 Ice Guys shows tomorrow, our regular live daily show, 2 p.m. Eastern, to break down Game 1 even more in depth, and then our betcast, live betcast for Game 1 tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. DM or email me to receive a link if you want to join us on the betcast. Great stuff. Appreciate Devin joining us here on the Ice Guys show. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we will talk to you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.